Welcome, everyone, to History Gone Wilder, part of How History Will Travel. I'm your host, the Wilder historian, Dr. Lucas Wilder, and last time I began Hood's Tennessee campaign, getting the Army of Tennessee to around the old Kennesaw Mountain battlefield at Big Shanty, with one division under Samuel French aiming for Allatoona. If you like what I do, please consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't done so already, join the Patreon page, and purchase something from one of my online stores. Every little bit helps. Thank you. On the same day that Samuel French's division moved north toward Allatoona, the Union were scrambling to get troops to help guard against that Confederate attack. Brigadier General Green B. Ram, while stationed at Cartersville, Georgia, found the wife of an unwilling Confederate soldier. Both husband and wife were Union sympathizers, but her husband had been forced into Confederate service. Ram asked her to conduct a bit of espionage. On October 2nd, she went into Confederate lines under the guise of visiting with her husband. While in the camp, she discovered the news of the Confederate advance to Allatoona, giving Ram the information on the 4th, the same day of the Confederate movement to that location. William T. Sherman, to keep his troops from being spread out and to help guard the railroad, ordered John M. Corse to link up with Ram at Cartersville. However, with the new information about Allatoona, Ram advised Corse and his division to be sent to Allatoona Pass, and it was agreed. Corse took over Thomas Sweeney's division when that general was removed from command following the Battle of Atlanta. Corse was a strict disciplinarian, and his men didn't give him much praise, but he was a good soldier. He was born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, but was raised in Burlington, Iowa. He attended West Point but didn't graduate, eventually passing the bar in Iowa and practicing law. Serving mostly in Mississippi during the war in a staff position and as a field commander, he followed Sherman's Army of the Tennessee to Chattanooga, where he was wounded attacking Missionary Ridge. He became Sherman's Inspector General when he returned, but got division command when Sweeney was removed. Now he and his division was at Rome, Georgia, guarding the area and hoping to prevent Confederates from striking out from areas in northern Alabama. Corse was to go directly to Allatoona Pass, but by foot would be too slow. He needed to be sent by rail. The rail system was a mess on that end, with a derailment and Corse's attempt at getting an engine and cars failing. Ram dispatched Captain George W. Hill of his staff and gave him the following order to help get Corse to Allatoona. Proceed with the engine to Rome and hand to General Corse the enclosed letter. I learned that 2 cars must be put on the track before you can reach Rome. Have as little delay as possible. Throw the cars off if that is the most expeditious way of disposing of them. Moments are of importance, so improve them. Hill boarded a train for Kingston. The engineer went at a snail's pace, only allowing the train to go as fast as a man could walk, telling the officer that he didn't want to go faster because if the rebels attacked, he wanted to be able to jump off and make his escape. Hill put his hand on the man's shoulder and said, "You run this engine as fast as possible, or I will throw you off and go on without you. You are not necessary. We can go without you." The engineer went much faster. At Kingston, Hill appropriated 12 cars and started for Rome, but quickly ran into a blockage caused by a derailment. A rock had fallen onto the tracks, wrecking some hospital cars. Within an hour, the track was cleared and repaired. Hill now steamed toward Rome with 20 cars and 2 engines, one on each end. When he got to Rome, Hill handed Corse the note from Ram. Corse responded, "I can't get to Allatoona. The road is all torn up." "Oh no, General, the road is all right. I have just come over it with an engine, and 'tis repaired. I've had 1 brigade in line all day and waiting to go, but I can't get control of the railroad. I have just ordered them to camp again and given up going," replied Corse. "I have control of a train for you," said Hill, "with 2 engines and 20 cars and can load you in 20 minutes if you will have your men at the depot." "You can't get a train when I can't," replied Corse, "but I say to you I have what I tell you, 20 cars and 2 engines." "How the hell could you get a train when I could not?" "I just took control, that is all there is to it," Hill said. Corse got the men to the depot and told Hill, "If I go down there, I will pitch into them, by God, if there is 30,000. The division was loaded onto the train by 8:30 p.m., with both Corse and Hill aboard. The train sped off toward Kingston. Once there, it headed south on the Western Atlantic Railroad for Allatoona. At 1 a.m., without incident, the train and all the men pulled into the depot. Corse had won the race for Allatoona. French's division was still miles away. General French's troops moved through the night with very little sleep after helping to dismantle the railroad tracks. they moved to the west of Allatoona and planned to attack it from the north and west, creating a pincer-like motion. Corse's men were ready for an assault. French's plan began with problems, not the least of which was coordinating two wings of his division across a good distance with no direct contact with the brigade ordered to attack from the north. French knew the problems and thought there were only 3 regiments guarding the town. Thinking he could convince them to surrender, he sent over a message asking for the Union troops to give up. Corse sat down and wrote out a reply. It read, "Your communication demanding surrender of my command I acknowledge receipt of, and would respectfully reply that we are prepared for the needless effusion of blood whenever it is agreeable to you." However, there is controversy as to if that reply was ever delivered to French. Nevertheless, when the officer who gave the terms to Corse came back into the Confederate lines, a Missourian called out, "Is it surrender or fight, Major?" The reply came, "Fight." French looked at his watch. It was 10 a.m. He was going to wait for Claudius Sears to attack from the north before he sent in the rest of the division. Knowing he was running out of time, he ordered Francis Cockrell and William Young's brigades to attack. The Missourians led the attack, quickly driving in the Union skirmishers, but they were met with a heavy barrage of artillery. A Union soldier in the 93rd Illinois remembered the attack. Solid shot and shells, grape and canister from double-shotted cannon, and a hailstorm of bullets were rapidly and accurately poured into the ranks of the Confederates as they recklessly advanced. They were made to believe that they were to have an easy and speedy victory, and yet notwithstanding their fearful losses at every step, they still advanced faster and faster until their whole force west of the railroad cut burst into an impetuous charge. The spectacle was sublime. The 29th North Carolina of Young's brigade became detached from the rest of the brigade because of the terrain, but when they made it into the open, they saw the Missourians pinned down. Young's men pushed into the area where the Missourians were. They stayed there for only about 5 minutes before the entire Confederate line charged into the Union entrenchments. A bloody hand-to-hand fight erupted. A Missourian remembered, "As our boys swarmed over the parapet, the bayonet was freely used by both sides, officers firing their pistols, and many throwing sticks and stones." Another Missourian wrote, "Here sabers clashed, bayonets crossed, and clubs and rocks hurled back and forth in the desperate struggle. A stalemate ensued, but it would soon be broken. The Mississippians of Claudius Sears hit the blue troops in the flank and began pushing them south and east. Cockrell and Young's men put together a pursuit, but it was disorganized. To the east of the railroad track, Sears' 2 Mississippi regiments attacked the 4th Minnesota and 12th and 50th Illinois. The Mississippians were outnumbered about 3 to 1, plus the enemy was entrenched. When the rebels attacked, lead flew from the Yankee guns and cut into the Gray Line, stopping them. The 12th and 50th Illinois were dispatched further to the left to help fight off the rebels attacking west of the railroad track, halting Sears' Mississippians, who were attacking the Star Fort. The battle was severe, with lead flying through the air in seemingly all directions. When an artillery shell crashed into a hospital, Union Private Isaac Russell, who was recovering from typhoid fever, thought he had a better chance of survival on the front lines. He returned to his regiment and fought the rest of the day. The recoil from the gun knocked him down every time he fired because he was so weak, but he continued to get back up, load, and fire again. The whole morning, William T. Sherman was attempting to get word from Allatoona to see if Corse had made it to the location. They were forced to use signal flags from Kennesaw Mountain to wave signals to Allatoona. Finally, around 10:35 a.m., Sherman got the message, "We hold out. General Corse here." That allowed Sherman to breathe a sigh of relief. Inside the Star Fort, Union defenders were getting exhausted and scared. One man exclaimed, "It is no use, we cannot hold this fort." Corse shot back, "Silence, sir, or I will have you shot. We will hold this fort. Never let me hear such cowardly words from one of my men again." At least one black servant of an officer or other soldier wielded a rifle in the fort, defending it against the rebels. Not all was gallantry in the fort. A few men played dead, as one soldier described it. These men were either ignored, sat on, or stood on to fire over the parapets. When General Corse was knocked insensible for a little over half an hour from a bullet to the head, he sat on one of these living corpses while he recovered. French couldn't make any headway, and he received reports of Union reinforcements being on their way, so he ordered a withdrawal. Corse and his division helped save an important railroad depot and supply base. During the battle, the Union lost 707 men of the 2,190 present, or 32%. 142 killed, 353 wounded, and 212 missing or captured. The Confederacy suffered much worse. Of the 3,553 rebels, they lost 898, 134 killed, 474 wounded, and 290 missing or captured. Hood's attempt to further break the supply chain of ammunition and food coming into Atlanta failed, only weakening his own force in the process.